Perfect. Thank you very much. So, good evening, everyone. Today is June the 13th, 2024. I call this meeting to order. I would like to begin with land acknowledgement first. I would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral land of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and the people of the Three Part Confederacy. The traditional territories upon which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of the indigenous people with this land, its waterways and resources. Moving on to agenda item. First, I'd like to begin with adopting an agenda. As everyone had a chance to review agenda, is there any amendment to it? Kyle?
Nope, no amendment. I was just going to say that.
Perfect. If that's okay, then we can just, if someone can make a motion. Kyle did one, seconded by Brian. All in favor? I do. Motion carried. Perfect. Going into agenda item 3.0, declaration of pecuniary interest. Members of the committee are required to state any pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipality Conflict of Interest Act. Is there any conflict of interest to declare? I'm seeing none. That's great. Which leads us to the approval of minutes from the meeting that we had it on May the 23rd. Everyone had a chance. I hope everyone had a chance to review those minutes. Is there an amendment to the minutes circulated? Perfect. I'm seeing none. So if I can ask someone to make a motion to adopt minutes circulated. Brian, no? Okay, Brian. Kyle, all in favor? I do. Motion carried. Perfect. With that, we are moving on to our new business. We have, I'm going to actually bring Alice in to introduce our guest speaker today. Alice, over to you, please.
I'm actually going to ask Kyle to do it. This is my first time meeting Maria as well, but Kyle knows. So sorry, I'm going to pass it over to Kyle.
Over to you, Kyle, please.
Sure. Okay. So Maria Lung is our representative of the MBCA. She is our media representative. She is the one that's responsible for all media interaction, as well as the website and everything else that we do with the MBCA. And I thought it'd be great if Maria could come and talk to us for putting together a display for the MBCA for Canada Day, especially considering that most people in Shelburne don't realize that we're part of the MBCA, not part of the CBC, which is a big difference. So Maria, I'll turn it over to you and let you do your thing.
Thank you so much, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. So I don't use Zoom very often, so I'm going to attempt to do the PowerPoint share. Let's see. There. Can you see this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me and for the introduction, Kyle. My name is Maria Lung. I'm the Senior Communication Specialist at the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, and that is what MVCA stands for. And this year, we decided as a team to go into more of our communities in the watershed to really connect with the residents who live there and share the services that we offer at MBCA. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But first, I'd like to introduce you to some of our volunteers and our staff members. So in the picture behind the slide are a few volunteers from a local high school in the town of Shelburne, as well as Emily. She is our wonderful I forgot her name, but she is really, really amazing at planting trees. And that's what they did. This is a picture after they planted trees on Walters Creek in the town of Shelburne. So, just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. As you can see, we are this green dot here. Can you see my mouse moving? And then CVC, Credit Valley Conservation, is just southwest of here. And you might think that because Orangeville mostly lies in CVC, town of Shelburne does, but actually the town of Shelburne belongs to, some of the town of Shelburne belongs to the Nottawasaga watershed. And I'll explain why later. But the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority is one of 36 conservation authorities in Ontario. And we are one of the unique organizations in the world, not because we are bound by political boundaries, but instead we are bound by geological boundaries. And this geological boundary is our watershed. And so what is a watershed? A watershed is, you can see on the top left, it's a type of land where water flows from a high area to a low area, and this water can seep into the ground or flow into a wetland, a river, or a lake. This water can also flow through private properties, public properties, farms, cottages, forests, small towns, and big cities. And in the bottom right photo, you can see that there are small streams that are coming out of the higher elevation areas. And these small streams connect with larger streams, which connect to a larger river. And in our watershed, the river is called the Nottawasaga River. And the Nottawasaga River flows into Georgian Bay. So let's take a look at where the town of Shelburne is in our watershed. So going back to that map that's kind of in green and blue. So this is the zoomed in version of that. And you can see that the town of Shelburne is in the southwest corner of our watershed. And this is where the Niagara Escarpment is. And beside that is the Oak Ridges Moraine and the Oro Moraine. So those are like, that sound really technical terms, but what they represent is they're really areas with really high elevation. And as you move into this menacing wetlands right in the middle, that's very low elevation. So you can see, as I described before, that there are small streams that come out of the town of Shelburne, township of Amaranth, Grey Highlands, and then the water flows into the town of New Tecumseth, town of Springwater, Wasaga Beach, and then eventually flowing into Georgian Bay. So essentially, what we do in the town of Shelburne really impacts downstream communities, for example, the township of Agila-Toserantio or the town of New Tecumseth. So MVCA exists because we want to help municipalities and our residents and developers and so many other people manage the watershed in a sustainable way. And we work with 18 municipalities to do this. And we work with funders, partners, landowners, and many other people to protect and enhance the watershed. Our services provide economic prosperity, safe communities, and healthy environment to those who live and play here. And we also ensure that the watershed is resilient to human use and climate change. So one of the services that we offer is ecological restoration. Here, you can see in the photo that there are some volunteers trying to put that brown thing is actually a really old Christmas tree. They're trying to jam it into the bank. And that's because the bank is actually eroding a lot. So a lot of the soil and sediment and phosphorus is flowing into the river, causing water degradation. So by putting the Christmas tree along the banks, and they will like kind of put it on top of one of their just like roof shingles. That way it will prevent the soil from going into the river, and it's going to be trapped in the Christmas tree. And the little nooks and crannies inside the Christmas tree actually act as nurseries for baby fish such as rainbow trout or Chinook salmon. And so another service that we offer is environmental education. And this is all because we want to inspire our next generation to protect their home and to be empowered to do so as well. MVCA owns and manages 11 conservation areas in the watershed. Some that you might have heard of is the Tiffin Conservation Area or the Nottawasaga Bluffs Conservation Area. And we also own a lot of other land for conservation purposes because they might be not undevelopable as there's too much flooding and erosion going on. And they're also sanctuaries for wildlife. And our conservation areas are important places for us to go and wind down, go for a hike, go canoeing. And this family here is actually inside the Niagara Escarpment in the Nottawasaga Bluffs Conservation Area, not in Shelburne, but closer to Collingwood. And we also offer professional tree planting services. And we, on average, the Department of Forestry, they plant 100,000 trees a year, not by hand, but mainly with that machine over there. And as you see that row of little tiny trees that are coming off the machine, that's how the trees are planted. Part of our role is also to regulate development in areas that are prone to flooding and erosion. So if property owners are looking to build a deck, an extension or addition to their homes, they live close to a wetland or a river or a place that is prone to flooding and erosion or dynamic beach, they have to come and get a permit from us just to make sure that when there is a flood that occurs, their lives and their properties are protected. And we do the same with developers because we want them to build safe communities for the future residents to live in. Our flood team, they regularly monitor the state of the watershed in terms of what is the probability of flooding. Here you can see one staff member, he's actually measuring snow. And with that information, they can determine how much water we're going to get in the entire watershed in terms of snow melt. And in the spring how it rains a lot. So in combining the snow and the spring rain, we can tell which municipalities or which communities will have a higher chance of flooding in the spring, and as well as during summer thunderstorms, or God forbid there's another Hurricane Hazel, we can monitor the risks of flooding. And our watershed science team, they monitor our forests, wetlands, rivers and streams, as well as our groundwater to see how healthy this water is. And with this information, we share it with our internal staff, but also with municipalities and developers and academia, just to make sure that we make good future decisions to make sure that our communities and our waterways is safe, because we swim in our water, we drink with our water. Water is just so important to us, and we need to keep it safe and healthy. And we also help the province of Ontario administer this Clean Water Act, as well as a Safe Drinking Water Act. So with all that information, this is what a typical booth looks like. We bring all of this information in the form of brochures and pamphlets, and we present this to anybody who is interested. And a lot of times when people see the maps and the really beautiful scenery or the conservation areas that we're promoting, they come to us and ask us, how do we protect our rivers more? I have invasive species in my river or in my backyard. How do we take care of that? Some people have heard that we regulate their property, and they come and ask us about the process. So our booth is mainly an information booth. And this is another version of our booth. And you can see the panels at the back. It's mainly for people who live in rural areas or farm areas, because we have grants to help them restore their wetlands or build or restore their streams, as well as plant new grasslands. So looking a little bit zoomed in a little bit more, you can see in that board, there's little rectangles, and those are actually footprints. And when you open them, those are the animals that the footprints belong to. As well as for this, for the Canada Day Festival, we will be bringing some turtles And these are really, they're simple, but they really attract the kids to come, and adults are always interested in turtles as well. And we always take this opportunity to, while the kids are playing with our games, we take this opportunity to chat with the adults to see how we can, can they send their kids to camp? Or is there anything we can help them in terms of preserving their rivers and streams or planting trees? So as I mentioned earlier, this year we are looking forward to go to many communities to share what MBCA does. That's why we developed these 4 beautiful pull-up banners. And everybody's favorite is actually the one with a map, because they always love to point out where they live. And if there is internet, Alice, I think we spoke or through email earlier that there is electricity, but not sure if the booth that we have will have electricity. But if you do, then I'll bring a computer, and if anybody is asking about their permits, we can pull up a map. Or if we're not using the computer for mapping purposes, there's a mini documentary that we can show, or we can browse our website. And originally we were going to have 2 staff manage the booth, but because it's only me, I cannot bring this marble run anymore because it's gigantic and I can't move it by myself. But what this tool does is actually, it's on the top is areas like the town of Shelburne, and the bottom is Wasaga Beach, because our river runs from south to north, and to many people that's like really odd but really fascinating at the same time. So the tool was having the kids to put some marbles in, so they can understand how water flows. And we will also bring some scavenger hunts for family to take home while they're exploring nature, because who doesn't love looking for mushrooms, Anyway, that is my presentation. Does anybody have questions?
Maria, excellent presentation. Really, thank you very much. Living in town for about 7 years, I've never come across any presentation like this, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. I'll tell you one thing: my son would be really looking forward for this area. He loves nature. He loves to explore how things are done, so he'll be definitely there. Check out your booth for sure. I can tell you that.
And I would really like to thank Kyle for inviting me to this celebration day, Canada Day. Yeah, we really appreciate it, this opportunity. And if anybody on council is ever looking for a presentation like this, please reach out to me, and we can always organize a presentation at council or committee, anything. Just reach out to me, and we can make it happen.
Thank you, Maria. Is anyone any question? Presentations look really detailed and thorough, covered entire portion that probably someone has a question about. But yeah, thank you, Maria. Really appreciate that. Good stuff. So if that's the case, I'd like to basically Alice, do I need is there a motion there for this?
There is a motion to receive it, but if the committee would like to donate a booth to the MVCA, I would suggest amending the motion to receive it and that a booth be donated to the MVCA for the Canada Day event.
Kyle, or help me, members. I remember we discussed or flushed it out this last week. So we were kind of all in agreement to that. So I think I'm okay putting that forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll second that.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So in that case, the motion would read, be it resolved that the presentation from Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority be it received as information and Alice. Sorry, and
that the NVCA be granted a booth at the Canada Day event via donation.
That's it. Who is going to be my? Okay, Kyle, thank you for making a motion. Amy is the seconder. All in favor? Perfect. All in agreement. Thank you, Maria. Really appreciate
Thank you very
that.
much.
Thanks, Maria. Much appreciated.
Perfect. With that, I am gonna hand it back to Alice to introduce our next guest. So over to you, Alice.
So just want to say thank you again to Maria, and just Maria, for your knowledge, we do have electricity for you at the vendor space.
There we
Oh,
go.
that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay. And so we have Fire Chief Ralph Snyder with us this evening to provide an update to the committee as to what activities the fire department is going to be able to have at the event. So Chief Snyder, I'll pass it to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite. We've been discussing practice, which is on Thursday nights at the present time. That's why I'm up and out of my chair and back into my chair several times here. It's kind of our busy night, and we just got back from a call. Power outage, alarms going off, nothing major yet. But we're on top of it and ready to go. We have had a discussion with the membership. They want to, we have a rope rescue team. So they want to do a demo, a rope rescue demo at 5 p.m. It'll be half an hour to 45 minutes. Should be fairly entertaining. They did something similar at Canada, or no, at our open house last year. And it was fairly well received. They basically lift somebody, they simulate lifting somebody out of a gully or out of a foundation of a house or something like that. We've had a few calls over the years like this that they've got genuine practice at as well. So they like to keep practicing it. And the other thing, I've asked Orangeville Fire if I can borrow their fire extinguisher trainer, and I'd like to do a demo with it on the hour starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, probably till 7 at night or something like that. And people will be able to actually try to run a fire extinguisher simulated because it's an electronic screen. Unfortunately, that device is out for repair right now, and they're hoping to have it back before Canada Day. So it just went out a week and a half ago, and they haven't got it back yet. If we don't have it, I guess we won't be doing those demos. We'll be doing the same, something similar to what we did last year. One of the problems we've had is that for the last year, or a couple of years, we've had people just come and get the freebies, and we don't think they're really taking the message that we're trying to put out there. That working smoke alarms save lives, and that you should have a home escape plan and that type of stuff. So we're going to try and cut back on just handing stuff out and actually do some demos, answer some questions and that type of stuff. But we'll be there. We had met with the fireworks provider and the town this week, and we've got everything approved for the fireworks as well. So we're good to go there. And we have asked for the area around the building, not the pavilion, but the other building, kind of reserved for fire. We've been there the last few years. It works for us, and it's a good spot. We can set up the ladder truck there and do our rope rescue demo, because they'll be anchoring off of the aerial levels. So that's about it for me. Looking forward to it. It's getting to be that time of year. We're doing Melanchthon Day on the 22nd as well.
Nice.
Yep. Kyle, you're muted.
How?
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Ralph, do you need a tackle dummy to pull out your I'll lay down and just pretend that I'm dead, and you guys can pull me out if you want.
Okay, we could do that. Yeah.
If you like, sure. Why not? I'll volunteer.
We've done a lift. We put you in a basket so that you're secure, and we have done a lift. Last year, we lifted them over top of the rescue truck. We actually took them down off the top of the rescue truck and then down. Since then, I bought a new rescue truck and I said, no, you're not doing that down the side of my new truck. So,
Well, if you guys need a volunteer, then count me in.
okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for your contribution and ongoing commitment to support our Canada. I really, really appreciate that. Great. Any question for Ralph while he's on screen here with us? No. Fantastic. All good. All well received. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph, and looking forward to seeing you on Canada Day as well.
Okay, if you've got any more questions, you better ask them because I'm going to the county council meeting now. It's on my other screen.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thanks. Bye, Ralph. Right. That brings us to the agenda item 5.C, which is an entertainment update from Go with Crow. Alice, I'd hand it over to you for that.
Thank you very much. So,
Yeah.
good evening, everybody. It's Claire and Dave. We're on the road, so hopefully you can hear us okay. But we're on track for doing the Go with Crow Fun Zone. We have bubble soccer. We have some coaches that are referees that have stepped up that are going to be doing the bubble soccer. We are going to do a draw for a bike that we're going to give away that day. So we'll be there from 3 to 8. We'll be doing the bike draw. We'll have some other people that are linked to home sales, like a mortgage broker. We're working on talking with Prusen Insurance, and a few other people that are contributing to just lawn games, keeping it simple and having some fun.
Great. Thanks. Really
Any
precise.
questions?
Go ahead, Claire. Sorry.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to open the floor for question. Yes, Alice?
Just quick update to what Claire added. We did receive the vendor application from Prusen Insurance today, so I have confirmed that they are coming. So thank you for providing that through them, Claire. I appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Perfect. Thank you. Amy?
I don't know if we've already talked to you about this already, but I was wondering if you liked the spot you guys were in last time and if you want to be in the same spot.
Did we like the spot we were in last time? Yes. Yeah, everything was good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I just had to consult Dave.
As long as we can still run power like
Oh,
we did,
are-
this should be fine.
Are we able to run power still? Is it possible to run power?
Alice, can you confirm if there's power to that spot? I'm not sure. I don't believe there's an actual post there.
That's a Jamie question. I'm going to let Jamie answer that one.
I was gonna say if you ran it last year, there would be no change this year if you had power last year. Do you know
Okay.
if you connected to the building itself or the pavilion?
I was to the building.
The building.
Yeah, so that should be fine. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Thank
I-
you.
I was gonna say, I don't think there was a post out that way, but I mean, if they went to the building, that should work.
Wonderful.
Okay. Any other question? No, I'm hearing none. Thank you once again, Claire and team, for stepping up and supporting the event. Really looking forward for more fun. I'm actually happy that we have a bubble soccer now, since you found referee, so it's great. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
good. Well, thanks for having us again.
Thank you. Take care. Right. With that, I will hand it off to Jamie for the event planning and layout logistic.
Hi, everyone. Haven't seen you folks in a little bit, so thanks for having me tonight. In terms of layout, pretty much same as last year for parking, fireworks from Go With Crow. Ralph indicated that they'll be in the same spot as well. So really probably the same kind of ideas we've had in the past. It just depends on the other vendors and activities that you have going on. One thing that was mentioned while we were on site with Ralph and Brad, our operations supervisor, was where they've done inflatables in the past. And he indicated that they've put them kind of where we had the car show the one year, that's typically where the inflatables have been. But again, depending on what the committee is hoping to do otherwise, it sounds like we would be rolling with a similar layout like last year.
Yes, I believe, Brian and then Kyle.
Jamie, we had a issue with the parking last year, where the fireworks guys were set up. People were driving down and around, and then the town blocked it off with their truck, which was fine. We also have the problem with the community garden and the dog, and people just want to drive wherever they want. So we have to figure out a way to, I guess, be able to allow people into those areas, because people want to carry water in to water their plants and stuff like that. I don't know if we've thought about any of that stuff yet, or I know we kind of briefly mentioned it before, but I don't know what we can do.
So from my perspective or a staff perspective, if you're having parking attendants there, having that conversation with folks who are looking to use those spaces and indicating that, you know, we have an event going on, we can't allow access directly in front of those spaces for, you know, parking, and that we can park you here and then walking over. Potentially Alice, maybe myself and you can work with Melissa and Carol to do a blast out to community gardeners and or include that in our promotion and advertisement, that, you know, parking access to those spaces isn't going to be VIP parking like you're normally used to, that you'll have to park in event parking and proceed on foot from there. That would be my suggestion, just so that the committee, any volunteers or staff that are on site are managing cars that are driving through the event space. That would just be where I would say the safest route would be.
And
Brian,
if
have
I
any
can
follow-up?
just-
Sorry.
I'll just add to that. We'll also see if we can get a sign put up at the dog park the week of, indicating the same thing, that access to the dog park, it won't be closed. We can't close it, but it will be limited to parking further away.
Yes, Brian, you have a follow-up, and then I'll go Kyle and Len.
Most of the issues that I've experienced last year is elderly people saying they're not going to carry their water to water their gardens that far. So
But the
is there
difference-
water, is there water at the, like, I don't know if
The
there's
difference
water
is this year we're going to tell them in
Okay.
advance. Last year we didn't tell them. The difference is we're going to tell them this year.
Okay.
And there is a hose at the community garden,
Oh,
as
there
well
we go.
as water at the dog park.
There we go. Yeah, it's good. Thanks, Jamie. Kyle?
The only other thing that I want to mention is that we did have issues with parking along the road that I believe is to the south. People were parking just to the south of the road. We do need to block that off. I think if we can just make sure that people are not parking, because they want to get out early, obviously, so they're taking parking spaces that aren't actual parking spaces. If we can make sure that town staff block off that entire road, would be good.
And I suppose the issue is that there's causing parking or traffic congestion by parking there.
100%. It's basically they're taking priority parking that isn't actually priority parking.
Alice, do you have the picture of the park layout again that you can share, or no, or Jamie?
While they pull that up, Len, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just sorry I'm late. Jamie, do we still have access to the pretty orange vests we got at Christmas time?
Mhm.
Can we get those? And they might be handy to have on site because people tend to pay attention to people wearing orange vests. They're like this cloak of authority.
I'll wear the pink one again. I'll volunteer. That's fine.
I wanted it.
The pink one was Alice's.
Then
So
if you want it, it's yours. No problem. As long as one of us has it, I don't care. It's got to be worn.
All right.
yes, we do. Pink one was Alice's, so she'll have to offer that one up. But we do have approximately 7 vests that I have. So absolutely can bring those to the park. So they're in the building for event day. We will also hopefully be expanding our parking area just based off of Alice based off of last year's comments that there wasn't enough parking. We'll kind of open that up as far up as we can to ensure that there's enough parking there. As long as there's parking attendants, I think that that'll be sufficient to indicate, you know, when people are coming in, where to park, and maybe an additional person to ensure that people are parking kind of not on their own. They're kind of at designated spots as rows kind of start to create.
Brian?
The only other problem that I found last year, it wasn't so much the year before was fine, but people wanting close parking that are handicapped or unable to walk on the uneven ground very well. So last year I was letting them park beside the pavilion where it's closed in there. I didn't really like it there because they were backing up and people were walking there. So I don't know if there's a better area that we can maybe choose. I don't know. They just want to be closer to the areas so they don't have to walk as far.
Jamie, are you responding?
I would just say that potentially we can provide pylons or barricades somewhere closest to as far up that the parking goes. And again, that's where parking attendants can indicate, you know, those parking spaces or that row is for accessibility, where we're going to start parking this point on to ensure there's enough spaces. Because again, having cars going into event space while there's events going on, you probably are the safest to keep everybody parked in the parking area that's designated and just keeping the areas closest for any accessible needs.
Ms. Khan?
Would it be possible for us to designate an accessible parking space by the Go With Pro? They usually rope off their area. Can we designate an area? I would say maybe we move 5 feet away from where the ropes are and designate that as a accessible parking space.
The only issue is where between parking and Go With Crow is a swale for drainage. And should we have wet, rainy weather, there's quite a bit of water there. On the flip side, definitely of the drainage swale could indicate that that area would be for accessible parking. We just got to be careful with not getting people stuck.
True.
Cool. Brian, and then I think Len had his hand up on this as well.
Is it possible where the dump station is that we can park cars along there?
You could. It's obviously up to the committee how they also want to have cars flow in to the parking or to the park. You would just have to have somebody there. I think in the past, we've had that gate closed so that cars aren't coming through to events on the North Road, and where the South Road with the parking area is where all cars were heading down. Again, you'd have to navigate them back out onto the county road and have somebody at those gates to allow in and out access.
So last year we had it closed and people were just getting out of their cars and opening it and driving in because we can't padlock it because the fire department needs that access. So a lot of people were coming actually in that way, even though the gate was closed. So I stood there with my foot on the gate, keeping it closed. But again, that's where they always come in, and they don't want to go to the other side, right? And again, that's where the community garden people and all that stuff were causing not that they were causing a problem, it's just arguing about. But I just thinking about parking handicap people maybe where the transfer station is, but then again, if we have a trailer come in that wants to dump, I don't know. Like I know it's quite busy, that transfer state, like the dump station, so I don't know what the best solution is. I think parking them over where we park the other cars, I think that's going to be too far away for some of them. Like there's a couple people that are walkers. Like it's a long hike for someone in a walker.
Kyle, Len, you had your hand up first and then I'll go Kyle.
Len, you muted.
Sorry, I said you go Kyle first. It doesn't matter. I was just gonna say we put a sign there, handicap parking only. Secondly, because we don't have funding from the government, we're allowed to collect monies, have donation pots out and stuff like that, which is something we could maybe have the drivers that feel comfortable doing. And my question was around weather in terms of, do we have a plan if there's a rain delay? Like if we get rained out? Just throwing that question out. Whoever wants to take it.
Okay.
Yeah, Kyle.
All right. So I'll address both of those, but I'll start with the accessible parking. What if we open up because we've got the south gate open, go up the road to the first road and have that come across, and then that accessible parking could be right by the pavilion, but we absolutely need to have that spray painted and marked saying this is accessible parking only. Either we have signs or spaces marked, one or the other. Is that something that staff could help us with?
For sure. Again, the only comments I would have there is who's monitoring when cars are leaving. Are they driving on their own? Or who are they contacting? Keeping the dump station area open. You could potentially, again, depending on volunteers and who's on site, if there's a parking attendant at the south gate, having a parking attendant and someone similar to Brian, like last year at the north gate, you say this is accessible parking only, parking right here next to the building. If you are community garden, dog park, this, that, the other, you are going further south and parking with our attendant at the next gate. And then that way, that area is monitored for anybody trying to sneak in, but also for the accessible needs to be parked there. Again, just having someone stationed. We could put barricades at the road so they can't go any further past the building. They can only go to parking near the washrooms and then the loop of the dump station. I would just again suggest somebody be there.
So as far as the dump station, I don't think we've ever had anybody use the dump station while the event was going on. But at the same time, I don't think we've ever
And you
Oh,
let them through to you.
They said they'd come, they were understanding, they said they'd come back the next day, so.
If you're parking accessible cars there, of course, that's a decision you can. Conversations.
That office trailer is still there, right? Along the side of the dump station?
It's
There's like-
not a trailer, it's like a shed that holds a whole lot of tables and stuff.
Or shed building. I don't know how much room there is to the driveway though. Is there enough room to pull a car in there?
There's plenty of room, for sure.
So if they just nose into where that office build or shed or whatever we want to call it, there wasn't thousands of people. There was maybe 5 people that had a problem.
Realistically, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of accessible parking that we're gonna need. So either way, if we set it up as in front of the shed and just go along that north road.
Yeah, because as I said, I had them parking on the grass where the bands were all parking. But then I watched a couple of them try to back out and I was like, this is not good.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think Len's got a statement.
Yes, Len.
Okay, so just on that parking around the pavilion situation, we are still going to need some parking for the Matlocks to load and offload. We're still going to need parking for any service vehicles, and I know I'll need some parking there as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
That's why we're trying to keep them away from the pavilion.
Yeah. We've got a beautiful new cement pad at the pavilion now, which is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Keep people happy. Thank you to the town for coordinating that.
100%.
Jamie, Alice, whoever.
There was 2 points that I was going to comment on. The parking and what was the other one?
The other one was the backup plan, rain backup plan.
Rain delay.
Rain backup plan that we have had in the past is basically we sit there and we wait and see if the rain is going to let up. If it doesn't, then we cancel. But that's been so. I'm just giving you what we've done previously before, and
No, that's fine. I'm just kind of want to work that. And is there a possibility to get and the picnic tables the day before? There's a ton of birds and what birds do, and it's going to show even more with the cement pad. But I know the picnic tables last year were a mess.
Yep, I can make note for our team that
Thank
that's
you.
been requested.
Awesome.
Good. Thank you, Len. Kali, Brian, you have a comment on your point?
Yeah, so regarding the rain delay or cancellation, as far as I'm concerned, the show must go on type of thing. If we don't get delayed off the fireworks, we don't get delayed off the fireworks. But we've got the money out, so there's not much. They're not going to give us a discount, so as I said, the show must go on, and as I said, we deal what comes. But I don't think canceling is really an option because
There is a rain date, so they do provide July 2nd as a rain date. It has to be, I believe, 90% chance of rain for the full day is bump it, but they'll have to make that call depending on wind, rain. But we do have the next day as a rain date.
I'm just thinking in terms of Crow. They're going to be out in the open. There's going to be a lot of vendors with tents out in the open. I mean, I'm not so concerned about what's under the pavilion, but that's going to be, people will tend to crowd under the pavilion if it's raining.
or hopefully in their car.
I'm driving away.
Amy, had any comment?
I was just gonna ask about what happens with the fireworks, but Jamie answered that.
Historically, I'm just trying to digest this as well. In an event of rain delay or cancellation of the event, some of the vendors are basically like a paid vendor. What happened to that? If anyone have any idea about that, Brian, or maybe Kyle, Brian.
Well, I think it's rain or shine, is it not? Like, it's up to them to put a tent over top or whatever.
It's always been rain or shine in the past. There was only one Canada Day that I can remember that was torrential downpour. But it did stop for us to actually have the event just in time for us to open. So those who showed up. Those who did not, did not.
Okay, great.
Is it on our vendor sheet? Does it say rain or shine? I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm not reading it on it anyway. It's not there. So I don't read that on. Well, with that said, is there any further question for Jamie? Oh, perfect. Jamie made a note of what the committee had asked for, and okay, perfect. Thanks. Brian, last question.
Sorry, Jamie. We've always had some staff around to help with garbage, and they even help with some of the parking too sometimes. Is that still going to happen, or do we need to make arrangements for that, or?
Brad will speak with his team to get at least a few staff. I think over the past couple of years, it's been anywhere from 2 to 4, depending on how many we can get for the event, but that's still the plan for this year.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. We'll definitely tap on your shoulders should there be any other questions arise anyway. With that, if we can move on, agenda item 5E, which is the sponsorship and vendor updates. Alice, over to you.
Okay, hopefully I stay connected. I've lost my internet a couple of times already this evening. The rain is coming down sideways here. It's kind of fun. So I'm on my hotspot with my phone, so hopefully it'll stay this time.
Wow.
So as far as vendors, the last time we spoke was, so we do have the paperwork from Legacy Verse now for the sponsorship and their vendors, and I know that's in kind, but we do have the paperwork now. I also have the paperwork from the DEI committee. They want to have a booth at the event, just promoting DEI within the town of Shelburne. So I have that paperwork. And then I also received vendor form today from Cruson Insurance, and they will be doing snow cones at the event. As far as sponsors go, we got, since we last spoke, I said the Legacy one, and then we got one from Shelburne Memorials, and we got one, the Tipsy Fox. That one came in as well. And that is the platinum one that we discussed for the Tipsy Fox. So I'm just reaching back out, making sure I have logos so Sarah can be advertising those sponsors on the Facebook page. And I'm going to be putting together, hopefully with some help, a flyer information that's going to go in the newspaper, which will also include the sponsor information with logos. And I did hear back from the Tipsy Fox that they're absolutely fine with their booth being donated to a nonprofit. And so we could use theirs for the NVCA. And it just did indicate that we would have a sign at the booth saying booth sponsored by, and then the sponsor name. So if someone is good with logos and would be willing to make those booth sponsored by signs, that would be great.
Right, Kyle will do it.
Yeah,
Control that.
I'm sure I could probably pull that off. Okay, so are we looking at size of signs? Do you want me to produce the signs? Or do you just want me to produce the artwork for it?
I'm not going to be there on the day, so
Okay, so if I were to produce it, though, it's got to go through the committee to, and I can't be part of the decision.
no, I'm just thinking like printing something on a piece of paper.
Oh, that I
Not
can do.
not anything fancy, just something printed on a piece of paper that can be at the booth, whether it be in a plastic stand or taped or whatever on a
so-
table. Just something to indicate that the booth was donated by whatever sponsor has donated that booth, because we've also had a booth donated to Compass Church. You know, just so we can make sure that the booths that have been donated, that those sponsors are recognized.
Okay,
And
so
KTH donated a booth as well. That's right.
okay, so NVCA booth is donated by Tipsy.
I'll send you the list, Kyle.
Thank you.
I'm not going to make you remember it right now. I'll send you a list.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna remember after tonight. There's no way, Alice. You've seen me respond by email. There's no way I'm gonna remember tonight. So, the only thing that I will ask is, do we, as far as town goes, do we have those plastic stands that we can put like an 8.5, 11 picture or
I'm making a note right now to see if we can get some.
okay, perfect.
Brian and then Len.
Alice, you can donate our booth too.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing, Kyle, can you print off, like, I'm not sure if the town has wheelchair symbols?
The
Maybe we could
accessibility symbols, yes, we'll get some signs printed for that as well.
just laminate them or whatever.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to print those off, Alice. If you've got some.
I might be able to do those, Kyle. Staff will take care of the accessibility parking signs. I just
Okay.
need help putting the logos together and.
No problem. Okay. Send me what you need from me and I'll get that done.
Okay, thank
Len?
you.
Len, over.
I was just going to say, Town Tees does something a little larger format. If we wanted to go a little bigger signage, and they're pretty reasonable. And they
We
need a
do
week.
not have a budget, no budget.
No budget? Did I miss that part about the budget again? Okay, that's fine. I just, like I said, I apologize for coming late. Was there a budget discussion?
No, that was the last meeting.
Oh, okay, all right, fine. Okay, no, I'm just, if we wanted to go a larger format than 8.5 by 11.
I'll see what size plastic signage I can get. We also don't want to take up too much of the vendor's space because we don't know how much space the vendor is going, right? It's that fine balance for them.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we can come up with for there. And I am still getting emails from individuals asking for more information about being a vendor. I've sent a couple of vendor forms out, haven't received any follow-up since. So, but of course, we are still accepting vendor applications. Blitzful Treats is still the only food. So if anyone knows any food trucks that want to come, I know he would be appreciative of not being the only one. So, and yes, the paperwork for the health unit needs to be done at least a week before. So we're getting tight on time for food vendors.
Okay,
At
well,
least-
let me know what you need me to print it off. Send me an email with what you need and I'll make sure that I get that taken care of.
Thanks, Kyle.
At least two questions I have. One is the sponsorship from Claxton Denture in downtown. Did we receive anything from them yet?
No, I don't
I'll
recognize
connect with
that
Dwight
name.
again. I'll connect with Dwight again because he was really interested in because he has another office in Orangeville as well.
Okay.
So that he's a very good friend of mine as well. So basically, I'll work on that again, tap on his shoulder again to see if we can put in that. Maxwell Burrito in town just recently opened this summer. Anyway, is interested in getting into it, but he had a little bit a question regarding the power power situation. Basically, he'll need electricity to run. So are we able to provide something, or how are the vendor managing their area?
So Jamie has a better understanding on the power situation at the park than I do. We have indicated we will have power for some of the vendors. Legacy needs power. The MVCA needs power. So there is some power available. I can't guarantee how much. If they have an alternative source, ideally that would be best. But I mean, we're providing what we can. Jamie, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, if they can bring their own generator, inverter power, just because, in addition to what you said, Alice, Go With Crow is asking for power. We do have lots of power under the pavilion, but if we have performances and sound light equipment under the pavilion, that's being used by power. Inflatables, we do have generators. We have 2 generators that should suffice for the inflatables. But again, if we need additional power, that's coming from the pavilion. So there is power sources there. With what we currently have going on, extending power to more and more vendors might be getting tricky. But there is power access at the pavilion and at the building. Len.
Hi. So I do have a generator. That somebody if Crow wants to use a generator, that's fine. The problem with running power from the pavilion is you'll have a bunch of trip hazards with people running extension cords, especially if they're 20 feet down the road. And it's really, really raining. Wow. Here in town. So that was the first thing. Secondly, paperwork. Did we have that conversation yet, Alice, about contracts for our performers? Or is that on the agenda and I just haven't seen it yet? Okay.
Or that was just a conversation that you and I had. That wasn't a committee conversation. We just need something.
Okay.
And so yeah, you and I discussed that. Kyle and I will discuss it as far as it goes for Peter,
Okay.
because you two have been the main contacts. Committee doesn't need to worry about that. We've got that covered.
Fine.
But no, great. That's a great point, Len. If they are hooking up to any of our power sources, and it would be extension cords on their part and any mat coverage over those cords on their part as well.
Yeah.
Alice, would it be a right time to discuss a couple of the email you received from previous event from that, I think, Shelburne Bhangra group? They were looking, or they're interested back again this year. So I had asked to reach out directly to Alice with that. And also I have one more request that came from yoga teacher Lindsay. And her request is just basically to allot about 45 minutes of a time. It's a family yoga session that she wants to run. Her requirements are very simple, just a microphone and a speaker. And participant needs to bring their own mat and water bottle if they wish to. And basically in return, she's looking for activity space, and she's asking to basically allowing us to promote her summer Queen yoga class in return of that. Len and then Brian.
Okay, so in regard to the yoga, are they running that at or near the pavilion? Because there's going to be sound checks at 5 o'clock for the bands, and then if the Bhangra dancers are coming, that's going to be a 6:30, just after the opening ceremonies. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm just concerned about them saying, okay, it's 4 o'clock. We need a microphone and sound system. I'm wondering if we ensure that they have their own microphone and sound system for their yoga. I thought you said Yoda for a minute. I got excited. It was Star Wars, but it's yoga.
Yeah, Lindsay
But-
can bring her own as well. She was just requesting if they have it. She doesn't have to carry much stuff with
Yeah,
her, but
no, that's going to be a completely separate entity from, depending upon where she sets up too. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. So,
Brian?
My concern on that is, she's theoretically a vendor because she's going to profit from it by handing out business cards. So theoretically, she should be paying the vendor space, in my opinion. Not that I just, she's going to profit because she's going to get clients eventually from it, maybe. So,
I think we had a similar discussion last meeting as well. That there are vendors out there that we're doing in-kind sponsorship for them, but they're gonna get benefit out of it. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a tricky question and tricky thing to answer as well. We as a committee, we all need to collectively decide what's best for our event, I guess. But I'm just throwing a question at it. That's it. Amy.
Isn't it more like an in-kind sponsorship because she's providing a free activity, kind of similar to Go with the Crow? Like Go with the Crow probably benefit from it from being a sponsor. I kind of consider it more like that. Vendor to me is more of someone coming and like selling a product there.
Yeah. I think yes, Amy, right on point there as well. We had that healthy discussion last week on our last meeting around about the same area of business. So yeah, regarding their timings and so on, once we are collectively agree, we can definitely work on schedule to make sure that time is allocated to them and also inform them for their timings as well. But yeah, why don't we look at Alice, do we have a chart or timeline, event timeline?
So specifically as far as timing of events, I don't have a chart that I can share, but we did tell the CDRC we would promote the public swim that goes from 1 until 3 o'clock p.m. The vendor market is scheduled from 3 till 8. So Go with Crow already has their family activities starting at 3. Ralph indicated this evening that they would be doing as long as the fire extinguisher simulator is back in working condition, that would be on the hour, every hour. So that would be starting at 3. The rope rescue demonstration is at 5. And then the entertainment is, I believe, at 6 and 7 or 6:30 and 7:30.
So maybe I can add a little bit to that. So 6. So the band's coming on at Matlucks are coming on at 7 to 8, 15, 8:30. Sorry, and good gosh. The other one is the Pete Sarah is going to be 8 till fireworks, I guess. Makes sense. I apologize for that. I can't turn the volume down on this damn phone for some silly reason. There. Anyway, yeah, so that was kind of the schedule. As far as 5, if Bangor is showing up, that'll be 6:30, and then 7 o'clock the band, and then the band. Yeah, those are my plans.
window can.
Yoda. the Yoda thing
What
is,
about the opening ceremony line? And that's the agenda item 5, opening plan. Yes, Kyle?
Okay, so as far as vendor recording has stopped. Recording has started again. Okay. Most vendors are thinking that a 3 to 8 is a very, very long time for vendor events. So they prefer to have a 3 to 7. So what we've tried to push for the vendors and what everybody's been agreeing to is a 3 to 7 as far as the vendor market goes. For as far as opening ceremonies, I've talked to Sylvia Jones and everybody else. Honestly, I don't think that we should be doing things later in the evening like we did last year. I think we should open the entire day as the day. So I've told Sylvia 3 o'clock we're doing opening ceremonies. I'm more than willing to just do it right then and there. I've talked with Gord Horsley, who's also talked to the cadets who are willing to do the flag raising for us as well, and they're all prepared for 3 o'clock. So if the committee's okay, sorry I made a executive decision outside of the committee, but realistically it kind of made sense to just get things rolling. So if everybody's okay, I'd like to have opening ceremonies at 3, open the whole thing, let's go.
How do we feel, team? And I like that proposal. Even last time we were at 5 o'clock, it was kind of middle of the day. So yeah, I am in agreement with what Kyle had said and also Lynn. The timeline was right on. I hear you, Kyle, 3 to 7, but by the time they wrap things up and so on, it'll be 8 for them anyway.
100%. 100%.
Alice?
So what if we had the Bhangra dancers right after the opening ceremonies, instead of trying to put them later in the evening, or have the opening ceremonies, then the yoga, then the Bhangra dancers? Like if you still want to do that, move things earlier so that when we're doing the promotion and advertising, we can say, this is at this time, this is at this time, this is at this, right? Because then if we do one of them at 3, right after opening ceremonies, one at 4, then Ralph's rope thing is at 5, and knowing that the ball soccer is all going on at the same time and the vendor market at the same time, then it's very clear to members of the public that there is something consistently going on. So instead of trying to push everything to the evening, since we're trying to draw people in earlier, that if I may make that suggestion, I would say maybe do the yoga or the Bhangra dancers right after the opening ceremonies, then the other one, whichever one you do first. And then people are already there for when the rope demonstration and other stuff is going on the hour.
I would
I
say
think that's a great idea.
I'm 100% behind
Yeah.
that.
I
suggestion.
back it up as well.
Absolutely. We need to get things started early. We need to get the biggest thing that we had, the biggest problem that we had last year is that everything was sort of up in the air. It's better if we get things planned, organized, timelines put in place. Let's do that for this year. Let's absolutely do it and start early. 100%.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
Kyle last year
that
was,
means-
sorry, go ahead, Glenn.
I was just say that means my setup's gonna be starting at 12, 1 o'clock. So
Len,
just-
you
so-
are there at 9 o'clock in the mornings. Don't try to throw. No, don't try.
No, I just-
We're starting
I-
at 8 a.m. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. As long as I know. It's all good.
Even if you did the opening ceremony at 3:30, so the event, you start getting people there around 3 and parking, and then actually started at 3:30.
100%. 100%. And realistically, Len, we only had a speaker and a microphone last year. That's all we need.
Yeah. No. That's fine. And are we doing that at the flagpole or are we doing that at the?
We have to do it at the flagpole because the cadets
Okay.
are. So, yeah, I
Alrighty.
think that's probably the best way to go.
Len, when you said sound check would be at 5 o'clock, just wondering, what if we give a space, pavilion space, or stage to those Bhangra and both yoga activities basically. Around about 3:30, 4 o'clock. Would it be still okay for us to provide them mic, or do you think that's
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, so I told the Matlocks to be there for 4 o'clock to load in equipment. So it's gonna be, they said their setup is an hour and a half, so that gets us there for 5:30, a quick sound check to 6, and then I don't know what Peter needs for a sound check, but I'm sure he wants to do something.
Peter's gonna want a very short sound check. He's already prepared. He's probably gonna do sound check at my place just to get things organized, so that when he goes to the place, then
Yeah.
It's basically going to your equipment. So it'll be.
Okay.
How short do you want him to be? Because we can work it out here.
Well, I'm a pretty short guy, so I usually do pretty short sound checks. So
Fair enough.
if he needs 15 minutes, whatever they need, if he needs 15 minutes, we'll give him 15 minutes. If he needs 20 minutes,
I'm sure 15 minutes is fine.
the Matlocks might be a little longer, just because they're a little more involved.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all. I am doing a stand-up comedy routine at the Canada Day committee the day of. No,
Dude,
Never
you're
mind.
doing the stand-up committee right now.
sorry. Must be the weather.
Amy had your hand up, or are you okay? Or did you receive your answer? Nothing? No, you're good. Sarah, Brian?
Is Wade coming to the opening ceremony or no?
He'll be there.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
So that's in a nutshell. I think it's all about the opening ceremony discussion. It's great. Thank you, Kyle, for swinging in, and then Alice to help support the timeline. So do we need a motion to approve the timeline, Alice?
No, I don't need a motion to approve the timeline. Just confirming for advertising purposes, Kyle, do you want me to put 3 or 3:30 for the opening ceremonies?
3:30.
You know what? Let's be safe. Let's say 3:30.
Okay, and then are we doing the Bhangra first and then the yoga, or the yoga and then the Bhangra? And I'm also questioning with the yoga, if you're saying if they need to bring their own mats and stuff like that, they don't necessarily want to be on the cemented pavilion floor. They're going to want to be on a grassy area somewhere further away, would they not? I don't do a lot of yoga, but
I was gonna say that same thing. They're not gonna want to be on the cement. They're gonna want to be on grass. And I feel like the dancing would go well with an opening ceremony.
Yeah.
To kind of go hand in hand. And also, can you send me like the timeline when you have it all? Thank you.
yes. So 4 o'clock for the Bhangra then,
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
and then do we want to say yoga at 4:30? And Jamie and I will make sure we mark out a location.
Yeah.
Do we want
I
to put a buffer in that?
Well,
Both.
because not everybody's going to attend everything, right? That's the,
Well, I understand that, but do they need setup?
Well, they can be setting up the yoga while the Bhangra is going on.
Can they? Okay.
Like,
because they're not going to be in the
People-
same area.
Yeah, and the participants, like, they just have to unroll a mat. There's
Okay.
not,
And if
Sorry,
the
I'm not
yoga,
the yoga practitioner. I don't know what's involved. I don't know.
yeah, and if it would be best if the yoga could provide their own microphone, especially if they're going to be in a further away area. But I will need a resolution from the committee if you're going to allow them to be a sponsor and just give them the basic sponsorship level for providing the opportunity. And then I'm going to put at 5 o'clock the rope rescue. And then, sorry, what time did you say? I see your hand there, Brian, but I'm not ignoring you. I just want to make sure I get this written down. Brian, Len, you said that the Matlocks, what time are they
Matlock.
actually?
7 to 8.
on
They're
stage.
gonna load in. They're gonna load in at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Okay, so they're gonna be on stage like we said 7 till 8:15, and then Pete, Sarah 8:30 till fireworks. Is that how we? How long is his set? That's his set will be because it's dusk at not
I
dusk till 9:15.
I think he was planning on 2 sets from 8 until, was it 45 minutes? So 8 till 8:45, take a half-hour break, and then another 45-minute set after that till fireworks.
Okay, so if we get the Matlocks on stage
At 6:30,
7,
at 7 till 8.
7 till 8 is the Matlocks, and then
That
They'll
doesn't
need
leave
some
any time. There's no time. If they're 7 till 8, there's no time in there for Peter Carr to set up and them to take down.
Right.
So we need
No.
to get them on closer to,
Gonna have to be in there earlier, but the nice thing is he plays to tracks, so there really isn't a lot of setup for him.
no, but
It's-
there's takedown for them.
take down the Matlocks. They're going to want to take down their stuff. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking
so,
if we get the Matlocks on at 6:30 to
Yeah.
7:30,
yeah, that would be
7:30
good.
to 8, 7:30 to 8 they strike.
That sounds much better.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay,
Doesn't affect your setup time, but
And Len, I'll be there all day. I should be there to help you with setup and strike down.
and Go with Crows there that whole time. And am I missing any activity? Legacy whole time? And am I missing anything?
Bangara doesn't need any setup, I don't think.
no, they're just tracks, but I'll need
Just
those.
try.
Yeah, and the yoga doesn't need much except for the people who are participating roll out the mats. I think that should be fine. There really shouldn't be any other setup for a stage aside from the Matlocks and Peter, I think.
So extra bodies is always, and extra hands are always appreciated.
I'll talk to Dyson. I'm sure he'd be open to grabbing a
My
few.
65-year-old back is not what it used to be.
Hey man, I'm still sore from the Compass run, you bugger.
All right.
Anyways.
Great. So if that's the case, we can put forward the motion to accept or to honor the in-kind sponsorship for both of those vendor, I guess. Brian, you have a question, follow up, anything?
No, do your thing first. Sorry. Then I'll speak.
Be resolved that the Canada Day Committee approve. I'm going to do one motion at a time. Shelburne Bhangra Club. Can I do both at the same time, Alice? And
Yes, you can. You don't actually need a motion for the Shelburne Bhangra to perform. It's just because we're not, are you giving them a sponsorship?
that is what
Because I don't think we gave them a sponsorship last year. I think they just performed.
yes, they just performed.
It's just, I only need motions for sponsorships.
Okay. Then you're good. Brian, over to you.
For Alice, you said that you're going to do a flyer, I think you said, with everything laid out. Is it, and I'm gonna put this to the board, I don't know if it's cheesy or not, but since we didn't get the grant, could we put something on the donations, what they go towards? How we need donations and stuff, since we can advertise that now, since we didn't get the grant?
It would be best if we don't put it on the advertising, because in order to reapply for the grant last year, for next year, they're gonna want to see what we did this year. And it'll look bad if we put it on the advertising. I'm just trying to, no issues with promoting it at the event, but anything that might be used in submissions in order to qualify for a grant potentially in the future, we need to be careful that even though we're not getting it, that if they were to look at it, we would still be abiding by the requirements.
We could, Kyle, would it be possible to get 5 or 6 signs? Donations greatly appreciated. Just print it up.
How big signs and what do you want them to say?
Donations greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Something simple and to the point, and then put it on buckets or put it on
Well, we can do
cards.
it easily on buckets, no problem whatsoever.
Okay. All right.
As far as signs, you're looking like 2x3s?
No, just whatever, whoever's at the whoever's parking.
Buckets are easy to do. I can get those
Yep.
done, no problem. Actual signs themselves, they're a little more costly, but can be done.
Okay.
Brian, last comment?
Is it possible to get like the Matlocks or something, just to kind of maybe say something about getting some donations or something like that, or Len, if you're going to MC it, or
I'll talk to
Yeah,
Peter.
I would make reference to that.
Yeah,
You can
I'll
do
talk
that.
to Peter, I guarantee you he'll have no problem mentioning it on the stage as well.
we need all the money we can get, so.
Right, that brings us to our next agenda item 5G, volunteers at the event, who, when, where. We need volunteers.
Just to back up a second, do we still need a motion or whatever for Lindsay in the yoga?
Alice said no. Oh, yeah?
For the yoga, we do anyone that's just performing, that's a performance.
Got it.
Anyone that's providing a service, that's what we need the motion for.
All right. So, like to basically the motion reads, be it resolved that Canada Day Committee approve or allow you
Provides Lori, whatever the yoga company name is, if you could provide that, the space to do a yoga session at 4:30 p.m.
at 4:30 p.m. Thank you. And that's basically, she does not have a proper name to it. It says basically the summer twin yoga class, basically.
And if you could have her fill out a sponsor form for me.
Absolutely. I'll reach out to her and give her to give her information, your information to her, and that way you can connect with and get that all taken care of that. If anyone can make a motion. All right, Kyle, seconded by Len, all in favor. Motion carried. Thank you, Sarah, for reminding. Really appreciate that. I was in impression that we needed both. We don't need both, but great. All right. That's 5G, volunteer at the event. Once again, the area and how many.
So this was just
Morning.
so we could determine who actually was going to be there day of, when, so the committee has an idea of which committee members are going to be around when. And I've also, if you have anyone else that's interested in volunteering for the event, so we can kind of have a list going. I did have one member of the public reach out. I've emailed them back, haven't heard back from them yet. So, but this specifically right now was to be more for the committee to indicate who, when, and where.
I see. Thank you. Kyle?
Muted. Okay, so I will help Len in loading and everything else from what, 6 o'clock in the morning till whenever. I'll be there early morning with Len to start with the electronics and everything else. I'll help him. He can order me around and I'll just run wires like he needs and whatever else. And then at the same time, I'll run opening ceremonies. I should be there for most of the day. I can be there wherever you guys need me. I'll be one of those runners. So pick where you want me and just dictate to me where you want me to go.
Brian, I
you're
think you
available-
need to bring the dog to help you with the parking.
Yeah.
He is such
Donations, just bring him for donate, put a donation thing around his neck.
You know,
You'll get lots of
put the
donations.
basket over his head, just have it on his neck.
He's a little big, so
He's
That's okay.
gorgeous, dude. He's what is that? Is that bull or is that a mastiff?
he's a Napoleon.
He's a Napoleon.
Yep.
Okay,
Gorgeous.
nice. So Kyle, you're basically available throughout the day. There's no. Okay.
I have no choice.
Guys, last year, this year I have a little bit of a commitment. I know last year I was not too much of help in terms of setting up. I know I did whatever I could with Len and Kyle.
You were
both of them, they were there. But yeah, definitely. I am available as of the opening ceremony till the end, basically. So I'll be able to help, sort it out if at the end, if you need to take, definitely we need to take down all of the equipment that we brought in, Len, like last time I'll be able to help you with that from 3 o'clock and onward. I'll be able to, I'll be able to attend the full day from there. Len?
So I was just going to say, I know last year we had some water on site. Do we need to do that again? I think it was mostly for volunteers and staff, but last year we got water from Manic Plumbing, and I'm not sure if we want to do that or if we want to hit up Ice River, or I don't know.
Kyle?
Well, Mannix is my brother-in-law, and he's happy to donate every year. So I guarantee you that I can get those big jugs again. Tell me how many we need, and we will make sure that we've got them. I think we had 3 last year. Did they last, or did we need any more?
Yeah, so just.
We ended up
along-
dumping one out, I think.
Okay.
But I think we bought them last year.
Nope.
Oh, 'cause
Nope.
No, they were donated.
100% donated.
Oh, okay.
We
I
dumped.
remember picking them up.
We dumped 2 of them out.
Dumped one of them out. So
Okay.
3's probably lots.
Instead of going with 3, should I just ask for 2, or should we stick with 3?
No, stick with 3.
Okay.
Sarah?
I'm available up until about 8, and I can bring my son too. He can get some volunteer hours in.
Brian?
I'll be there pretty much whenever you need me to, when it's over.
Oh, wow. All right. So if that's the case, I think we need some strategy in terms of, not burn ourselves out, the whole day. So we can just maybe back on each other's strength and, work with it. That would be great, because I know it's tough to get volunteers. Brian and I think last year, it was tough at the gate as well. It was very tough to rotate the gate too. But yeah. Amy?
Just gonna say I have my son with me, so I can be there from like 3 to 6, but I'll have like a 3-year-old with me. If I'm needed more than that, I can get a babysitter. So I can do things that kind of keep me on the move with him walking around with me.
Yeah, no, if you have that commitment, I mean, it's entirely up to you, Amy. But you could do exact same job that you did it last year. Yes, Alice?
Just clarify, some of the vendors will probably be arriving shortly before 3, so we'll need
Mhm.
someone there to be able to direct So just as much as we're thinking 3 o'clock is start time, we need to be respectful of the vendors setting up a little bit earlier.
Earlier than that, yes.
Yeah, if I
And I-
needed before 3, I can get a babysitter. He's just napping at that time, so I can't really come before 3.
No worries. Respect.
Worst case scenario, I mean, I'll just abandon Len and let him set his own stuff up and can start working with the vendors as they show up.
I'll be there before 3 too, because I gotta bring the our photo thing that Jay made, so.
If we're not set up by 2 o'clock with sound and lighting, then yeah, so you should be free to do it by then. So we're being okay.
I was gonna say, Len, if we can't set up by 3 o'clock, we're screwed.
Well, by 2 at least, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pushing. Okay, all right.
Amy,
Amy, yes.
I was just gonna ask for vendors, are we gonna be planning out where they're gonna go ahead of time, or is it gonna be like they show up and we pick a spot?
Jamie could respond.
I was thinking a similar thought, Amy, in terms of what vendors have been told either in the past or if there's something being told this year to indicate, okay, when you show up, you're coming to which gate, and from there you're meeting which person to show you where you're going. Just so that's pretty seamless. I think there was a comment last year, whether it was from Jaya or somebody else in the committee, sorry if I just can't remember who, that the vendors kind of just showed up, put their stuff down, and it wasn't really like seamless, or wasn't really a spot for people. They just kind of chose where they made home.
It wasn't coordinated. It was just a free for all. Yes, we need to organize that for sure.
Mhm.
Can we put it along one of the roads? Like I just have them all kind of line up along one of those internal roads?
It would be best if we tried to put them, depending how many vendors we have, and we'll know closer to the date. If we have a lot of vendors, then yes, go along the road. If we don't have a lot of vendors, then I would suggest go by the driveway going up to the pavilion.
So,
Sort of line them up and organize where they are.
Like from the parking onto the pavilion, like that road?
Not the parking. No, the parking is further up. So you got the parking that's over further south. Then you've got the road that comes up, and then you have the driveway, I'll call it, from.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. So if you see the south gate right there, have them come up. The parking is already allocated, which is what that space is right there. So the driveway I'm referring to is right there. So if we have them going by that circle and organize them within that circle, that's probably the best place to do it.
We could also put them along that road, like that
Could
one, yeah,
with Crow within
like the other side of it.
We've got the Go with Crow within the trapezoid area, but we're also talking about the right there. We're talking about the accessible parking being closer to the over that way.
Mhm.
We
And where
could-
did we say about the inflatables?
The inflatables, I believe, are going to be to the east of that circle, or at least that's what typically is done.
Yeah, I drew the circle as the area for the inflatables, but if it was a little bit further up, that's fine too. I was just trying to mark out the general area we were looking at and pointing to when we were talking about inflatables there. Other than the swale that continues on the flip side of the pavilion, there is that green space there for vendors as well. Just on the flip side, Alice, just closer to where, yeah, right in there. I know for certain events, we put picnic tables there, but that space as well is close to Go with Crow. It's close to fire, so you could put people there as well.
That's usually what the first responders was all right
there. So they could get out early if they need to. I was just going to say, we're going to need, along the northeast and northwest corner of the pavilion, space for parking for the band. So they can kind of park along, yeah, right in that section right there. I don't have control of the cursor. That's a Jamie thing, but that's, if we could have parking there for band and equipment and stuff like that. And then again, on the short end, on the east side, yeah. Maybe
Mhm.
parking there.
For vendors that need power, where would they need to go to get power? Like, is it only at the pavilion in the building that they can get power?
So where Alice's cursor is, there's ports on every other beam from there. So you'd want to have them somewhere close. Again, otherwise they're bringing their own extension cords and mats.
Yeah, the trouble is that's a lot of the people come in that way, like that's the open side for the bands. And if you've got vendors parked there.
That does make sense. No, Jamie, don't we have posts throughout the open area that has power, or is that just water?
We have water. I'd have to double check if there's any other sources for power. To my understanding, it's building and pavilion. There might be one or two, but I'm almost positive those taps are water taps.
Just water taps. Okay.
Great. Thanks for closing that out, and thanks. Great question, Amy. With that said, I think Brian, yeah, anything to add?
Len, have we ever checked to see if those receptacles on the beams are on separate breakers versus what you're going to be using in the building?
They are on separate breakers. They're also ground fault interrupts. But in the past, we've actually used the power from the trailer, which hooks right up to the panel, which we don't have this year. So I'm going to assume that those, if we assume each one of those outlets is a separate 15 amp breaker.
The only reason I say that is because the compressors for the air, for the blow ups.
Yeah, they're 9 amps.
Yeah, but when they hit, they really
hit.
Yeah,
no, I know.
And you get feedback. So,
well, we'll worry more about that when the time comes, I think. Like if we get the inflatables, hopefully we can run off of generators, right? And then we can put them anywhere. I know, I'll bring a generator.
Yes, Jamie?
Now, in terms of power and other operational needs, we were hoping to have Brad here tonight just to speak to some of this. He wasn't able to make it. I know the committee has requested a site visit in the past. We can make that happen on a Monday to Friday between business hours. And that might help clear some of these kind of questions. Brad's been with the town for a lot longer than I have. And I know he's done some of the candidate events in the past. So I think he would be probably a wealth of knowledge in terms of what's kind of possible or what has been done in the past in terms of, electrical and all those pieces. So if something could be set up next week with whoever is willing or able to attend, we can try to make that happen on our end. And again, even for vendors, if there's any vendor who wanted to join that meeting to get a better insight, they're obviously welcome to join myself, Brad, and the committee just to get a better idea before event day of what they would be in for.
I'm available any day except for Monday and Wednesday of next week. So if you guys want to do a site visit, and Brad knows me quite well, he and I have worked together on this quite a few times. So let
So
me know.
what I'll do then is Jamie and I will talk to Brad and look at his schedule, and we'll pick 2, maybe 3 times for next week, and we'll email it out to the committee. Once the committee has responded with their preferred choice of availability, then we will tell the vendors, this is the date and time. So we don't have to stay on the meeting tonight to discuss
Yep.
who's available when, who can do it when. That's just going to
Makes
take
sense.
too much time. We need to see when Brad is available first. So Jamie and I will talk to Brad. We'll come up with 2 or 3 times next week. We'll email the committee, ask that you respond ASAP. And then we'll let so it won't be on Monday because that's not going to be enough time to get a response from everybody. And so we're looking at the end of next week, maybe the beginning of the following week, but either way before our next meeting, which will only be 3 days before the event.
Yeah, everybody. Thanks for making that arrangement, Alice. Really appreciate that. One last thing that I want to point it out is basically about vendor contact person, and check-in time for the vendors basically. Brian, as you said, you're available from whenever and whatnot. So I'm sure Len and Kyle will be busy setting up, all of those mics and so on. So if I can tap on your shoulder to take care of that area for vendor check-in and so on, a space allocation. Yeah, okay. So Alice, if we can maybe mention to vendor about contact Brian, and check-in time would be, what time do you guys? Should we say 2 o'clock, 2:30?
After 2 o'clock, yeah. 2 o'clock onwards. I know the inflatables, I think, are coming around noon. Len, Len and Kyle, so you're aware of that. I believe they're coming around noon to set those up, and they will have their own staff running those. But yeah, Brian, are you comfortable with vendors having your email address and or a phone number?
Cell phone's probably easier because I don't check my emails that often.
Okay. So can you
Yeah.
just message me, and don't tell me now because this is being recorded, but if you can message me your cell phone number that I can give to vendors, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian, for support. Really appreciate that. Any other question, anything, any suggestion, flush it out, all good? Okay, all right. So that brings us to agenda item 6, adjourn the meeting. Be it resolved that we now adjourn to reconvene at the call of the chair. Can anyone make a motion? Kyle, Amy, all in favor? I do. All right, we adjourn. It's time to say goodbye to all of the good folks here.
Sorry, is there one thing I can do,
Yeah.
Samir, sorry. The bicycle thing, is that Crow doing that? We never brought it up, so.
Sorry, Crow went out last weekend and bought a bicycle. I was talking to them at the golf tournament. They were going out that weekend to pick up a bike from Canadian Tire, and Crow is going to be giving away a bicycle at that event.
She did indicate that in her update that they have a bicycle.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
good. Okay, sorry. Bye.